Robert and his wife are on a holiday, or let's say vacation, in South America. They're in Brazil, and they're walking from one village to another one. Now, you can walk through the grass, just through plain nature, to the other village. But there's a road. So Robert and his wife just take the road. But while they take the road, Robert's wife notices that they're taking a detour. And Robert's thinking, come on, it's not a detour. Maybe the road is built this way just because it's the best way to build the road. I mean, come on, we were not around when the road was built. And Robert's wife was thinking, all right, if you say so. So all they arrived at the other village, they were exhausted. And then they looked at the map and they noticed, hold on a minute. Why did they build a road in a straight line between the two villages? That would have been just 1 kilometer. Now we had to walk 7 kilometers, a whole detour to come to this village. Now, what is the function of a road? In sociology, we have two main functions we distinguish: manifest functions and latent functions. A manifest function is the specific reason given by the community why something is there. It's also the most logical function of something. For example, what's the purpose of a road? Well, to make traveling easier. Because if you have a car or if you're transporting goods, you can't go through a rough grass or through hills. You need to have a road. But now, in sociology, you also have latent functions. A latent function is either a side effect or unintended consequence that the community holds on to. But it can also be an ulterior motive and the true reason why community holds on to something. Just look at this situation. Robert and his wife travel from one village to the next. They find out later, hold on a minute, there can be you can just walk straight from one village to the next. Just 1 kilometer. Why did they make a road that has to detour you all the way around? Now, here's the reason why. Between the two villages, there used to be, how do I say, used to be more villages over there. But there was a massacre that happened and people began to slaughter one another during some political revolution. Since then, the other villages that were depopulated were demolished. Those two villages remained. And throughout history, it happened that tourists would come by, walk from one village to the next in a straight line, and they would get the odd feeling of the environment. They would feel toxic. And some of the foreigners even camped over there in tents, and they were digging holes for campfire or digging holes, well, just to store things, and they found skeletons. So, over time, the local authorities decided we're going to build a road for foreigners and tourists to travel upon, but it's going to be a detour so that they will not even realize that there was a horrible history over here. And by building the road in such a way, they will see more scenery, so they'll be more distracted by the scenery in the hills, taking pictures of it, all of that. So they won't even think about, why is it not a straight road between the two villages? They'll be focused on, wow, I don't care there's not a straight road. Wow, there's a nice scenery over here. So they build this road in such a way to distract the outsiders from noticing the toxic history of the place. And at the same time, they offer a route through all that scenery. And another latent function is they're tourists. The tourists that love to take pictures over there because of the scenery. And now they're also local sellers also stand there to sell souvenirs. So the local sellers sell souvenirs over there, as well as the fun memories tourists are making on the roads, are all latent functions of the road. But the actual reason why they built the road was to distract outsiders. So the manifest function still is the road is there to travel upon. Simple as that. But the actual reason, the main latent function of the road is to distract the public. That's actually the main reason why the road is there. And there are other side effects like nice memories, nice scenery, or people selling souvenirs that also takes place over there. But those are latent functions. Now, manifest function, latent functions. For example, you can have a neighborhood where you have to pay a 3-month deposit before you can rent over there. So let's say the rent is 700 euros, but you have to pay 2,100 euros as deposit, besides the first month rent. So you have to pay 2,800 euros just to move in. And after that, you have to pay 700 euros every month still. So at some point, Ahmed, who grew up in the Netherlands, was thinking, why do you have to pay 3 months deposit besides the first month rent if you want to move into this neighborhood? What the heck is that? One day, Abdullah told them, Ahmed, who are the ones able to afford a 3 months deposit? And Ahmed said, well, almost nobody our age are able to do that. Is it maybe that they don't want people our age to move in here? Have you noticed most of the people that live here are middle aged and older? Only very few young people. And the young people that are around have parents with good paying jobs. Ahmed said, yeah, I've noticed that. Well, listen. The manifest function of the deposit is to make sure that if you can't pay rent, at least the landlord doesn't miss out. They say it's a security for you. Well, that's the manifest function. That's why you have deposits. It's a and if you finish paying, if you finish your lease over there, you'll get the deposit back. So people say deposit as security just in case you can't pay rent. Well, that's the factual reason why deposit exists. But the latent function, which often the actual reason why this deposit over here, is because they don't want certain people to move into here. Haven't you noticed that there are not that many foreigners living here or people with a migrant background? And Ahmed says, aha. So it's actually a type of racist exclusion that goes on over here without them actually saying we only want certain people to live here. They can't get away putting a sign saying we only want certain people of this type of ethnicity to live over here. You can't do that. But they know in this country certain people have easier access to finances. So they want people from that group to be able to live here. So now you understand you have manifest functions and latent functions. Now I want you to look at your own life and your situation. There are also manifest functions and latent functions in place. I want to focus on the latent functions over here. For example, some of you were raised with the idea, don't talk back to your parents. Children are seen, not heard. But hold on a minute. Is it natural that you talk to people to communicate? If you can't talk back to someone, I'm sorry, how do you communicate? How do you learn to get along? So that's a dysfunction right over there. But this dysfunction has a latent function, namely, children are raised not to question authority. And you're raised never to question adults around you. So by the time you're an adult yourself, and you notice all the dysfunctional adults around you, you're not comfortable admitting it. So you're more likely to get along with things and there's more ease in the community. So this dysfunction of raising children not to talk back or not to express when they feel uncomfortable with things is dysfunction. Everyone can see it. But the reason this function continues is because there's a latent function involved. There is no manifest function besides adults just want to feel like they have control. But the actual reason is people don't want to be challenged by dysfunctional community. And children tend to notice function quickly. So they shape the youth in such a way not to question things that are obvious. And then there's another latent function. There are political parties that know this about the public and they take advantage of the psychology of the public. That's how it goes on and on and on. Now look, let me give another example to you now. Let's say you have a guy called Jeffrey, okay? Jeffrey couldn't find a job. He graduated college. He just couldn't find a job. For over 5 years, he was unemployed. So he stayed at his mother's house, then he stayed at his cousin's place. He went from place to place. He got upset one day. So one day, he decided, you know what? Let me move to the other side of the country altogether. He had some money left from welfare, and he just moved to a one-room flat. Over there, he got a job in a supermarket, and afterwards, he got another job. And in his location, he got job after job offer. Long story short, after 5 years of moving, he is now married, he has a child, and he is financially stable. Now, one day, a former classmate of his that he went to high school with, he calls him. He asks, yo, Jeff, how are you doing? Jeff says, yeah, man, doing well, Kevin. How are you doing, Kevin? They just talk for a little while. And eventually, Kevin tells him, Jeffrey, I'm glad you made the wise decision 5 years ago to leave. It was the best thing you could have done. And Jeffrey asks him, why are you saying that? And then Kevin asks him, Jeffrey, haven't you noticed that everyone around after they finished college, or they all got jobs, they all got things having smoothly for them, but you always had difficulty? And have you noticed that all your relatives had things having easy towards them, but none actually really helped you out? Haven't you wondered why so many jobs never respond back to you when you applied for them? And Jeffrey couldn't think of a reason why. Then Kevin told him, listen, do you remember in high school when the police came to arrest you? Oh yeah, I remember that. They thought I was involved in selling drugs. A few months later, you were cleared of all charges because there was never any proof there were drugs. Someone just lied when you gave a false police report. Oh, yeah, I remember that, Kevin. I remember that. Why are you talking about this? Jeffrey, do you remember how after you were cleared from all charges, a lot of people stopped talking to you? A lot of people just began to avoid you. Oh, and by the way, why did the police even arrest you if there was no actual proof that you were even involved in drugs, anything like that? Listen, remember when you were in high school, you were quite vocal and quite open with your ideas? That angered people that you were so open. So a lot of people want to find a way to shut you up. And the way they thought to shut you up is by giving you a bad reputation by lying on you. So when that woman lied on you that you're selling drugs, people knew it was a lie. Even the cops knew it. They arrested you because the public defendant decided to arrest you. Because the public defendant realized that something was off around you. They just want to figure out why. So once you were cleared of all charges, it was over. The thing is, the people that were all upset with you being so vocal finally had an outlet for their unrest. They didn't want to accept you as a young man with a public speaking ability. They didn't want that because they didn't want you to see how dysfunctional they were. So, after you were cleared for all charges, while those months that there was on investigation, they all had an excuse now to offload on you behind your back. But once you were cleared for all charges, now you have to apologize for all they've talked about behind your back. But here's the problem. They formed friendships based on talking on you. Some of those friendships you have to shut down. Some of them even formed sexual relationships by dumping, at your expense, by dumping on you. So all those people, especially some of the girls back then, they didn't want to face themselves. So they began to avoid you. After you left high school, went to college, all of that, all these people were still bothered by the fact you were cleared of all charges because they hoped you would be found guilty just so they can justify dumping on you. Because now things backfired and they were upset with it. Now they just want to frame you so that they can look better. Now they couldn't get away doing this at the high school, but when they were all in college, remember they were all fluent in networking, they joined fraternities, all of that. Everywhere they went, they made sure they smeared your name with lies. Why are they doing this? So that most people will have a bad view of you. Because if people only get negative information about you, the negative information affects how they will see you. Whether they are good people or bad people, that's how human beings are. If you receive negative reports about something, we have to be more cautious. So a lot more people develop this caution towards you. And after college, because of this caution, a lot of employers were reluctant to hire you because they picked up there was resistance against you publicly. So eventually you ended up without work, going from place to place. And that became confirmation to many people, there must be something correct with what people are saying about this guy. So both the people that were invested against you or initially, as well as the other people who became collaborators of it, they all had investment in keeping you unemployed because that was the proof, quote unquote proof, that there's something was wrong with you, there was something criminal about you. The moment you moved away from this place and things went far better, a lot of people came to ask, how come this guy moves away and everything goes so smoothly now? It is because there was opposition against you in that environment. And your relatives, your family, they were all in on it. They all had short-term benefits at your expense. You being in that horrible financial condition, it gave them ease. So there was a latent function in place against you. Haven't you noticed that none of those people even contact you anymore? Or many of them, the so-called deleted you from social media? It's just like back in high school, they had a specific view of you. Now the view is challenged and they want to deal with it. Well, in this case, because of the latent function in keeping Jeffrey unemployed and financially messed up, Jeffrey could not break through. He had to leave the toxic environment where there was an investment against him. Now, let's go to another example. Let's say you have Lisa. Oh, no, let's use another name, Jennifer. Jennifer posted on her Facebook she recently got married. She got a lot of responses on it. And then she's also posted an invite to her wedding. The marriage certificate was already signed, also by witnesses, and the wedding was about to take place 2 weeks from now. They invited so many people. She got a lot of congratulations, but eventually very few people showed up at the wedding. And those who were there didn't even seem happy. Now, this was what's going on. Jennifer was in her early 30s when she found this other guy that she ended up marrying. Before that, from teenage years on, she used to be a party girl. She was sexually loose, boyfriend after boyfriend. And the majority of those boyfriends were either felons or they were violent men. She used to dress up, do all of that, just to get attention from men, all of that. She used to play on men. She used to be very a loudmouth. Yeah, she used to be bad news. But here's the issue. While she was bad news, she had all these people cuddling her, wanting her around. Family members loved seeing her. The moment she kind of moved away for a little while, people thought, oh, maybe she needs a little time to herself. Or maybe she has struggled with another boyfriend. No, she met a whole different guy, and she is now married. Oh, and soon after the wedding, she gives birth to a baby. Now, the thing is, she used to be sexually messed up. Go from one toxic guy to another toxic guy. Question, how did she end up that way? She was raised by some people. She grew up somewhere. How did she end up so toxic? So the environment has something to explain. Who neglected her? And she has a stepdad around. So how the heck didn't the stepdad intervene? How come none of her relatives called her out on it throughout all those years? Because here's why. The fact she ended up so sexually messed up showed that the community failed. And the fact that the community allowed it to happen means the community has something to gain out of it. And this was the latent function of her being this out of control, bad news party girl. The latent function was she became the outlet of the low life men in the community. Because that community had low life men, namely males who don't want to contribute. Lazy males who don't want to contribute but still also want to complain. But here's the issue. Where did this low life men came from? Who gave birth to them? Well, the women in the community. Who raised them? The other adults. So those low life men in that community, they tend to be frustrated quickly and take out the frustration in the community. And the police doesn't want to have to keep dealing with them. To put that many people in prison over and over again is also going to look bad on the community. It's going to embarrass people. So the community has an embarrassment, namely low-life men that don't want to contribute. But what are they going to do with those low-life men? Oh, guess what? You have nightclubs over there. The manifest function of nightclubs are people just to go there and have a good time, partying. Well, that's the manifest function. But the later function is the nightclubs become gathering places where the low-quality men of the community can go and find sexual escapes. And Jennifer used to be an outlet for the sexual escapes of those low-life men. And so every Friday, those guys, when they finished work, they would think, I worked 40 hours, but hey, it's worth it because, hey, I'm going to the club again. There may be some hot chicks over there. So they were motivated. This motivation for a sexual outlet, it prevented the men from turning violent and exploding on the community. So the public now didn't have to deal with their own low-quality male members because there were dysfunctional women around that became the sexual outlet of these men. And if those men would end up fighting each other over Jennifer, they would either end up going to prison for violence, or they would end up killing one another as criminals. They would say, okay, then at least we're getting rid of those low-quality men. Or if they end up in a toxic relationship with Jennifer, oh well, they can always blame Jennifer for being so toxic, whatever. In any case, the community wouldn't have to deal with them because those same low-life men, they can be fathers, husbands, bankers, managers. They have roles in the community. But the thing is, for the community to face their low-life men who don't want to contribute, we're often complaining and murmuring. If you remove all those low-life men from the community, you have a big hole in the community. So the public doesn't want to deal with the fact they have such type of men around them. So in this case, Jennifer was an outlet. So even Jennifer's family was in on keeping her as an outlet. So the moment Jennifer improves, all the people who were invested in keeping her that sexually dysfunctional, they now have something to explain. The fact that all the other people managed to have things more smoothly, and Jennifer always was struggling sexually from one toxic relationship to the next, and all those other people had it easier than her, shows that they were in on it. Yes, Jennifer had her own wrong too. As an adult, she had to face herself, absolutely. But despite her being wrong herself doesn't mean that others were entitled to take advantage of her being wrong. I mean, she could have been sex trafficked, kidnapped, gang raped, or I don't know, a lot of bad stuff could have happened to her. So people were fine having her being self-destructive and in danger all the time. Why? Because they got narcissistic supply out of it as a community. That's why. All the other fathers would say, well, at least my daughter's not like Jennifer spreading legs over the streets. All the guys has been in her. And other women would say, well, at least I have a stable man over here, not like this Jennifer over there. So there was narcissistic supply that came out of Jennifer's dysfunction. So that she was this wild party girl, there was a latent function in place. Just like there was a latent function of those nightclubs being there. So, what I'm teaching you here is that in communities and in society in general, there are always latent functions that aren't mentioned. Because latent functions, most of the time, they hide an embarrassment of the community. That the community is too overwhelmed to deal with. It's too overwhelmed to deal with, I mean. So, the same way, in some cultures, you're not allowed to ask a woman her age. Why is that? Because people say it's rude. So the manifest function of the restriction, don't ask women her age, is just to have people, so that people have something to get along on. Nobody asks a woman's age. But the latent function, the reason why people don't want you to ask that age, because it will trigger the awareness in women that many people don't value them sexually after a certain age. And this can cause anxiety and stress into women that can lead to mental breakdowns, all type of stuff. And it will also open the eyes to the women that some have been actually exploited by their own community. Because nobody wants to deal with all this conflict, they put restriction, never ask women their age, because in that case, nothing can be triggered. So, many of those unwritten rules that we have in daily life, I'm not talking about the written rules, which are the laws that they made in government. I'm talking about a lot of the unwritten rules, expectations we have of other people, their latent functions we're hiding. Okay, is a latent function in itself an evil? No. But if a latent function is there just to hide some embarrassment or some conflict community doesn't want to face, now that is toxic. Absolutely. And I want you to understand the following. When the public has agreed a restriction on you, they do not want to go back and change their decision. Because that decision was made based on something they want to hide about themselves. So the moment you improve and they can't get away with that restriction anymore, they get upset with you. Imagine you have this guy who used to play the guitar all the time in a very horrible way. And nobody wants to hear him play the guitar. This was horrible. People even saying, cut it out, man. You're a horrible player. Leave us alone. Everyone's talking crap about the guy. Several months later, the guy appears. People say, man, please stop doing that. The guy pushed him. Please let me play for just one time. He says, okay, just hurry up. Get it over with. When he begins to play, he plays so beautiful. People think, whoa, is that you? And then they find out this guy has a record deal. He's now an established artist traveling around, touring around, making money. Everyone in that community considers this guy to be a loser, a failing musician. But the same failing musician now has broken through. He's an established artist that influences their lives because his music is played on the radio. So on a daily basis, they're confronted with his prosperity. Do you think people are going to be happy with that? No, they will not be. Because then they need to explain why they didn't motivate them to be better. If they would have motivated them and say, hey, you know what, Robert? You want to play guitar? You know what? Go to some courses or go get some mentor. You can do it better. They didn't even motivate them, just trash him. They don't have to explain why they trashed him, why it was okay for them to trash him like that. And they can't explain it. Everyone else that sees it, every outsider will say the public was horrible and toxic towards him. And because the people don't want to face themselves being unreliable and narcissistic, they now want to project all the blame onto this musician that broke through. And the musician I'm talking about now was Robert Johnson. Okay? Was a black musician. He died a long time ago. But he has become a legend for rock and roll eventually. I'm just using him as an example. Whether you are a believer or unbeliever, when the public puts restrictions on you, because when the public puts restrictions on you, it's all about the escape and the ease they want to maintain. You can be married to a malignant narcissist, but still people will push you to stay with that man because they put a boundary on you to keep you in this bad situation so that they have ease. When the public puts restrictions on you, it's because they want to preserve their ease. Once you break this restriction, or you say, I don't get along with this, they turn on you. Simple as that. They might not say to your face, but they will indirectly give hints to you or try to talk you out of your improvement or try to just flat out sabotage you. Just like there's some malignant narcissists that stay with their spouse or with their sex partner just to hinder them from getting a better life, because the malignant narcissist knows if I leave this individual, he or she will find someone else sexually that will be better to them, they'll be better off. And everyone will see this individual improve after leaving me. And it will make me look bad. So the malignant narcissist may decide to stay with you, love bomb you from time to time to keep you there. And if that doesn't work at some point, they'll either try to kill you or get you locked up in prison or whatever, so that you are shut down, so you won't be a threat to how others perceive them. That's how malignant narcissists and sociopaths tend to operate. But let me tell you, that's also the same way the public tends to operate. So social mobility is something worldlings hate. They don't mind someone who had a high position crashing by error. That's a train wreck. The public loves a train wreck, but nobody wants either a former victim or someone that was considered a disposable option to suddenly become a necessity. The moment you gain financial leverage in any community, you have an influence you can't say no to. You have become a necessity because of your leverage. And nobody wants to put up with a former disposable option. At least you were a disposable option to them, and now suddenly you're a necessity. That's a change they don't want to go through because that means they have to face themselves that they're not the God, that they're not the control. And to preserve this delusion of control, people want to sabotage you at will. They want to be able to tell you to shut up. They want to be able to shut you up and shut you down anytime that it fits their ease and they're okay with you. So if you have any leverage, they can shut down and sabotage anytime they're okay with you. But the moment you have a true leverage, they cannot sabotage nor say no to, guess what? They turn on you. You get the evil eye, all types of psychic violence happening to you. So, understand, if you face some hinder in your life, do your part, self-reflect, check what you can do better, but realize it's not all on you. Where are you? Who do you have around you? How do people perceive you? How do people want you to be? Listen, once you break through, there are going to be people from the past also being inspired by you and they will also improve for the better. Such things happen. I've seen that also in my own life. But the majority of people will not. They will blame you for disrupting their ease. Take another example of this guy who was falsely arrested and how it affected the rest of his years not being able to get a job because the public around had an investment against him. He was strictly blacklisted and all of that. And people invest in being in that condition just so they can avoid facing themselves as a community. You see what I mean? You have to understand these things. Worldlings do not want solutions. They don't have to face up. They don't want justice. They want escapes. They want escapes and they want victims. This is what the public wants. They want escapes and victims. So don't be distracted by the manifest functions people throw in your face. Look at the latent functions in everything in your life. And once you notice that the latent functions cannot be justified, then you know there's an embarrassment or a scandal they're hiding. I'm just telling you. Now, I'm not telling you to openly confront the public about their dirt, because that will be waking sleeping dogs. Figuratively speaking, it's not a smart thing to do, just causing conflict like that. What I want you to do is once you notice latent functions relating to you or to your environment that don't add up, admit it to yourself and begin to take steps to either leave the environment or see what you can do about it. If you can't do anything about it yourself or with other people who are like-minded, leave that environment. Just leave. All right? You can pray, decree, declare at a distance if you want, but just leave that environment. The best way to get rid of danger is to stay away from danger or to leave a dangerous situation. Simple as that. Fighting danger is keeping you in danger. Remember I said, fighting danger keeps you in danger. You either leave the dangerous situation or you avoid the dangerous situation. That's how you stay free from danger. And too many people, they're kept in danger because they're fighting off the danger. Don't fight off the danger. Now, if you're in a bad situation and things are getting worse, do whatever you can, struggle to get out of it. But don't stay and fight the danger. You have nothing to prove, you hear me? You have nothing to prove at all. So, latent functions, beware of them. Not all latent functions are evil, okay? Sometimes they're just side effects that benefit people. For example, you having a corner shop, and now the whole community comes to a corner shop and people form friendships and bonds. Some people even meet their future spouse at your corner shop. So your corner shop becomes a cultural symbol for the community. Those are latent functions. Are those latent functions bad or evil? No, they're good latent functions. But just know, in the world, you have many latent functions that are just there to cover up an embarrassment or a crime of the community. Often is a public crime, neglect that is covering up. So, beware of latent functions. Again, don't just openly speak it out, confronting everyone else. That will get you in trouble you don't need. Admit to yourself, admit to like-minded people, and do something about it to get out of that situation. If you can't do anything about it, change it immediately. That's it for now. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you in one of my next live streams. Shalom.